Stephen A. Smith, First Take, Big Perk, all together, came on today and gave huge compliments towards Caitlin Clark, huge praise. And not only there, they were on Twitter as well, giving love to Caitlin Clark, and people seem to not like it, man.
Stephen A. Smith just lost his mind on national television. And for once, it wasn't because someone disrespected the Cowboys or forgot to put LeBron in their top 5. Nope. This time, the smoke was reserved for the WNBA, specifically the MVP conversation. And guess who's the eye of the hurricane? None other than Caitlin Clark. Yes, Stephen A. delivered an on-air sermon so loud you could hear it in the parking lot, complete with finger-wagging, volume spikes, and enough sweat to fog up the First Take cameras.
Stephen A., she is just different. She's special. Just a different type of electricity, man. Did you hear the roar of the crowd while that shot was in flight? Like, I'm expecting big things from her, especially MVP.
You know when Stephen A. starts pacing and throwing down words like thunderbolts, it's not a debate, it's a spectacle. And when he set his sights on Caitlin Clark, it was an explosion. A sports media monologue turned Broadway soliloquy. He didn't just support the idea of her winning MVP, he demanded it. If you weren't on board before, congrats. Stephen A. just guilt-tripped your conscience into switching sides. If you think Clark will win MVP this year, comment Caitlin for MVP down below. Let's go.
Well, let's remember this. Last year, in her rookie campaign, it was immediately after she had gone to the national championship game in the NCAA tournament, and then less than 2 months later, she's got a WNBA season where she started and played all 40 games, finished as a unanimous Rookie of the Year, all WNBA first team, finished 4th in league MVP voting.
Now let's be real. Subtlety has never been Stephen A.'s thing. This man doesn't whisper. He detonates. When he talks hoops, it's less of a chat and more like an audio earthquake. And this time, the epicenter wasn't Madison Square Garden or Crypto.com arena. It was Indiana. Because Caitlin Clark has been cooking up so much on-court sorcery that even the loudest voice in sports media had to turn up his dial another notch.
But she's Caitlin Clark. She put on a show in her old stomping grounds in Iowa versus Brazil.
The WNBA's most dangerous sophomore, the queen of logo threes, the walking ankle breaker, has officially entered Stephen A.'s obsession zone. And when she entered the league, casually pulling up from deep like it was a free throw, you just knew this man was going to hit DEFCON 1 eventually. Spoiler alert, that moment has arrived.
I think she's ready. She know she's it's her second year. She know what type of physicality it's gonna take. Look like she's always in great shape, never afraid of the moment. Again, we're talking about Caitlin Clark here. The spotlight been on her for years. She's not gonna shy away from it. I expect her to be in the MVP conversation.
In what can only be described as a caffeine-fueled verbal volcano, Stephen A. broke the sports media sound barrier to say what everyone's been thinking, but afraid to admit. Caitlin Clark might just be the real MVP. Not someday, not eventually, right now. The type of player who makes seasoned defenders rethink their life choices and opposing GMs lose sleep, wondering how they let her slip through their fingers.
And then I'm looking at the regular season, leading all rookies in scoring, field goals made, three-point field goals made, assists, steals, and minutes. She's the real deal. Make no mistake about it.
And this wasn't some half-hearted segment tucked into the end of a rundown. No, this was a full-blown Stephen A. theatrical event. You could practically hear the poor ESPN camera operators praying for a commercial break as he launched into an epic hot take ballet, somewhere between "she's a bucket" and "she's changing the league." His point? Crystal clear. Caitlin Clark isn't just here, she's taking over. She's slinging dimes, splashing logo shots, and turning defensive schemes into memes.
What does she mean to women's sports?
I just think that she's elevating the profile of women's sports in a way that most women should deeply appreciate. She's a phenomenal player. She's a phenomenal shooter. I call her the Steph Curry of women's basketball. I've been calling her that since last year.
Let's not act surprised. Stephen A. didn't suddenly stumble onto the Caitlin Clark bandwagon. He's been riding shotgun since Iowa. He's been hyping her up like she's a mix of Steph Curry's range, Diana Taurasi's fire, and Sue Bird's floor general wizardry, only with better angles for social media highlight reels. But this time, he wasn't hinting. He was hollering. He didn't float the idea of MVP, he commanded it. As in, why are we even pretending there's a debate? As in, how many more logo threes do you need to see before we hand her the trophy? As in, turn in your analyst badge if Caitlyn's not at the top of your MVP list.
You want to promote the sport. You put that girl up in there, and people were appalled at that notion.
Smith's take didn't just join the MVP discussion, it hijacked it. His rant reset the entire conversation. It was less hot take and more public service announcement. MVP voters, hope you were watching, because Stephen A. just pulled out the sports media megaphone and said what every fan in sold-out Fever arenas has been screaming all season long. And honestly, is MVP even enough of a title? Let's take a beat and acknowledge the complete absurdity that is Caitlin Clark's rookie year. This isn't a good start. It's a basketball fever dream. She's casually averaging video game numbers, treating triple teams like a warm-up drill, and throwing passes so accurate she could probably thread a needle from half court.
What's crazy is you had Monica McNutt, Andrea, Shanae, all on the panel right before the game, and they had a graphic, an interesting graphic that popped up showing that Caitlin Clark had the best odds to win the MVP this year. And man, I wish I could hear what they were saying.
Data nerds are short-circuiting trying to process her advanced stats. True shooting percentage? Ridiculous. Assist ratio? Historic. Impact on ticket sales, viewership, merch, arena electricity, national dialogue? Unprecedented. And yes, the bodies are piling up. Opposing defenders out here needing therapy and new ankles after running into the Caitlin Clark blender. She's not just a player, she's a cheat code. It's like the WNBA accidentally downloaded a next-gen player from the future into the league, and now no one knows how to stop her. Most second-year players are still figuring out how to rotate on defense without looking lost. Caitlin? She's draining game winners, signing autographs mid-dribble, and calling plays like she's the team's offensive coordinator.
So let's start with our 2025 WNBA MVP, and that has to go to the one and only Caitlin Clark. You can say I'm glazing, you can say I'm hyping her up too much, but I truly think that this second year for Caitlin Clark is going to be like nothing we have ever seen.
So when Stephen A. snapped, he was right on time. And the best part? It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. With the energy of a preacher in a tent revival, the theatrics of a man possessed, and the conviction of someone who's watched greatness in every era and knows it when he sees it. At one point, you half expected him to levitate or throw holy water on the production crew. It was glorious. It was chaotic. It was vintage Stephen A.
You got a girl here who's box office in Caitlin Clark. She is box office. We can lament it all we want to, but the fact of the matter is Caitlin Clark is box office. And we got to get that out the way. And I'll get into all of that a little bit more in just a second because it's very, very important that we point this out. She fills seats. She brings the cameras. She brings national publicity. It's what she does.
And somewhere out there, the legacy WNBA media, the gatekeepers who still think the face of the league should come from the old guard, probably winced. Because nothing rattles a traditionalist more than a generational player being anointed MVP by the biggest voice in sports. Caitlin Clark isn't waiting her turn, she's taking it. And Stephen A. just gave her the ultimate endorsement. So if you're still clinging to the idea that someone else should be MVP, maybe it's time to accept what fans, Vegas odds makers, ESPN producers, and 15,000 screaming fans in Iowa already know. Caitlin Clark is that girl. And you just knew this was coming. Stephen A. Smith can't go 5 minutes without dropping a Hall of Famer's name like it's seasoning in his favorite dish. The man's brain is basically a walking NBA Hall of Fame induction speech. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, the holy trinity of ESPN references. And boom, there he went, speed running through legends like he was unlocking them in a 2K fantasy draft. Each name more iconic than the last, and each one rolled out with the dramatic flair of someone announcing a royal lineage.
Talking about her. And who's to say they ain't gonna lose again and not win a championship? We're still talking about her. Remember, when Bird and Magic, as phenomenal as they were, the champions that they were, there came a point where despite the greatness of them as individuals and the greatness of their teams collectively with the Hall of Famers they were playing with, we were still talking about Jordan before he won the title, Tim. Am I lying? Wendy, am I lying? We were talking about him. When's his time? Because we were clamoring for it. And I'm telling you, that's what people, when it comes to women's basketball, are going to be doing with Caitlin Clark.
But here's what Stephen A. didn't need to say, and maybe didn't even realize. Caitlin Clark doesn't need to be the next anybody. Not the next Magic, not the next Bird, not the next insert legendary comparison here. Caitlin isn't checking boxes on some legacy scavenger hunt. She's rewriting the whole list. She's not fitting into anyone's mold. She's smashing the mold with a logo 3 and then walking off like it was nothing. She's the first, last, and only Caitlin Clark, and that's more than enough.
This girl is a superstar. I've been saying it for years. I keep telling everybody she's the Steph Curry of women's basketball, college or pro. She is a superstar.
While Stephen A. was out here verbally suplexing his co-hosts and spinning sports cliches like he was in a dunk contest of metaphors, something real was happening underneath all the theatrics. Clark isn't just a shooter. She's a surgeon with the ball, a point guard with Jedi-level court awareness, a walking highlight reel who doesn't need context or a shot clock to own the moment. She's a scorer, yes, but she's also the kind of player that pulls gravity like a planet. And every game she touches feels like it has an event horizon. And of course, it wouldn't be a Stephen A. Smith special without some truly deranged metaphors. 1 second, she's Steph Curry with better aim. The next, defenders are extras in a horror movie she's directing. But as exaggerated as it sounds, none of it feels that far off. Watching Caitlin Clark run the fast break is like watching Neo in the Matrix. Everything slows down, except her. Blink once, and she's at the rim. Blink twice, and she's already posted the clip with a clever caption and 200,000 likes.
Last year, and to speak to her, to be around her, she's got charisma, she's got style, she's got bravado, she's got class, she's smart as hell. Communicates her thoughts very, very well. She is so incredibly marketable.
Yes, MVP talk requires more than razzle-dazzle. We get it. Leadership, impact, efficiency, team performance, the checklist of basketball purity. But here's the thing, Caitlin's already checked them all, then double-checked them, then added a note that says, yeah, and I did it all while changing the league's entire energy. The Indiana Fever, once considered the WNBA's equivalent of a tanking NBA team, suddenly look dangerous. Opponents now spend practices scripting ways to slow down a rookie. The WNBA's schedule bends around her. TV cameras can't get enough. And arenas. They've gone from ghost towns to gladiator coliseums. One Caitlin Clark appearance, and it's a fire code violation waiting to happen.
Her coming into the WNBA, you could just feel, I don't want to use the word resentment at all because it's not fair to women basketball players out there who may have critiqued her. But what I'm saying is that when you're talking about her greatness, it is perfectly okay for those who have been great to say, okay, let's see what you've got.
Ticket sales? Try Ticket Explosion. We haven't seen this kind of hype since Lisa Leslie made dunking newsworthy. Except this time, it's louder, faster, and viral in real time. Fans are skipping rent to sit courtside. Security needs backup. And Caitlin Clark? She's calmly launching logo bombs like it's a warm-up drill. Cue the skeptics. Oh, they're here, crawling out of their Twitter drafts, clutching dusty accolades from yesteryear, muttering that she's too young, too new, not ready. The same tired script we've seen a million times. They hide behind phrases like earning it and paying dues while conveniently ignoring that Clark is already the biggest draw in women's sports. And maybe sports, period.
I love this one. I really do. I love this young lady. I had the pleasure of doing an event with her, during Iowa's homecoming because my man Mark Shapiro for WME took me down there and we were panelists. 10,000 people showed up. It was absolutely phenomenal. This girl is the best in the world.
Here's the truth. MVP doesn't care about seniority. MVP cares about impact. And Caitlin Clark isn't just impacting games, She's altering the weather. She's the storm warning every coach fears, the matchup nightmare nobody wants. This season, MVP doesn't mean most valuable player. It means most vicious problem. And Caitlin is exactly that. Every opposing game plan now starts with her name underlined, highlighted, and circled in red. Coaches are sleeping less. Defensive schemes are being redesigned overnight. And it still doesn't matter. She drops 28 and makes it look like a Sunday stroll.
Caitlin Clark is coming. Some people think she's already arrived. I don't. I think she's going to be even better. And I think that what she has done for women's basketball, especially in this country, has been phenomenal. There is no woman, no matter how great you were as a player.
Stephen A. didn't just rant. He went full nuclear. You'd think Caitlin stole his parking spot the way he erupted. But underneath the volcanic outburst was admiration. Raw, unfiltered awe. The kind of respect Stephen A. rarely gives out unless your last name is Jordan or Brady. Let's talk about the vibe shift. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just about basketball, it's an energy quake. Every city she visits feels like the Super Bowl is in town. Pre-game warm-ups now feature camera crews, not just coaches. Opposing players? Some of them switch assignments just to avoid being the next viral crossover victim. ESPN ? They're practically running a Caitlin Clark channel at this point.
Because when she came into the WNBA, for 22 plus years, they had been flying commercial. They were begging for chartered flights. She arrives there, and 2 weeks later, they got chartered flights. She automatically and instantaneously improved the conditions. Attendance is still lagging. WNBA is still losing money compared to what you would hope it would earn, but clearly things are on an upward trending.
Back in the studio, Stephen A. is practically speaking in tongues. His vocal range is somewhere between gospel preacher and malfunctioning fire alarm. His co-hosts are ducking for cover. The sound guy's hitting the mute button like it owes him money. And still, the man keeps going, because the truth he's preaching is undeniable. Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon. This isn't hype. This isn't a flash in the pan. This is a tectonic shift in women's basketball. Twitter is ablaze. Stats are being thrown around like confetti, and players around the league are realizing that Caitlin Clark didn't come to blend in. She came to take over.
It's improving, and she has everything to do with it. Attendance for Indiana Fever games? Are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings. She's directly responsible.
She scores like breathing. She dimes teammates like she's running a clinic. She doesn't wait for praise. She earns it, then walks away smiling while you figure out what just happened. She's casually dropping double-doubles while her defenders start reevaluating their career paths. And sure, the MVP field is stacked. Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, legends. But what Caitlin's doing? It's not just great, it's generational. It's the kind of season that makes you rewrite your expectations for what a rookie can be.
I think Clark being in the MVP conversation is kind of the baseline at this point. You know, she's already been that good as a rookie, and I imagine she's going to take another step forward. I mean, we talked about how that Olympic break was so good for her to get some rest and come in with her legs underneath her. Now she has an actual off season, that she got to take off where, she didn't play in Unrivaled, she didn't play overseas. So this is a lot of time for Caitlin to just get her body right and come in the best shape possible for this upcoming season. And I think that's going to pay huge dividends for her. Like there's no ramping up period this time around for Caitlin Clark. She's going to come in on game one and be already one of the top 5 players in the WNBA. So, I mean, I think MVP has to be the ceiling for her, right? Like she's already in that conversation. So for her to, get even higher in the vote total, potentially winning that award either this year or next is what I would expect from her.
Stephen A. may have sounded like he was trying to summon the gods of basketball with each syllable, but the point stood tall amid the theatrics. Caitlin Clark is not hype. She's proof. She's power. She's production. And if you still think someone else should be MVP, you haven't been watching. So as the season rolls forward, and Caitlin keeps casually bending the laws of physics while keeping a smile on her face, just remember what Stephen A. said. This isn't normal. This isn't expected. This is extraordinary, and it deserves recognition.
We own the moment. We're not here to chase greatness. We're here to claim it. Our ambitions don't fit into headlines or highlight reels. So if you thought we arrived,
2 more for Boston.
now you know. We're not here for the moment. We're here for the takeover.
If the MVP award really means what it's supposed to, impact, excellence, leadership, transformation, then Caitlin Clark has already won. And every time she launches another Logo 3 with the calm of someone swatting a fly, she's just padding her resume. So yeah, go ahead and hold on to your old school takes. Hang on tight to your "she needs more experience" arguments. Just don't be surprised when she drops 40, ends your team's playoff hopes, and then signs a few jerseys on the way out. Because if Stephen A. Smith, King of Bombast, President of Volume, First Ballot Hall of Fame Yeller, is ready to bow down and say she might just be the MVP, then the rest of us better catch up fast. If you think Clark will win MVP this year, comment Caitlin for MVP down below. Let's go. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.